Welcome back, all my fight fans. Today I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for UFC 314 in Miami, Florida, coming up this Saturday, April 12th. I'm so excited for this fight card. We got the return of old man Volkanovski. We got the long overdue debut of Patricio Pitbull. And we got Nazi lover Bryce Mitchell facing a Fighting Nerds assassin. There's so many things to talk about with today's fight card. As always, I'll go through every single fight. We'll start with the early prelims and work our way up. If you guys don't want to stick around for all of that and you want to skip around, there will be timestamps below in the description. If you guys like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. With that all out of the way, let's get into it. Kicking us off with the first fight of the night on our early prelims, we have a women's bantamweight bout between Nora Kanorali and Haley Cohen. Nora Kanorali is 8-2 with 6 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission, 4 in the first round, whereas Haley Cohen is 7-3, 2 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, and 1 first round finish. So it might be the fact that I'm French that I want Nora to win, but honestly, looking at both of their records, I'm a little bit more impressed with what Nora has done. She looks like she has a little bit more power in her hands, so I'm going to pick her to win. I'm going to pick her to win by decision because I don't usually pick women's fights to end in a stoppage. And yeah, I got Nora to win by decision in this one. Moving on, we have a middleweight bout between Tresean Gore and Marco Tulio. Tresean Gore is 6-2 with 2 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, 3 in the first round, but Marco Tulio is 13-1 with 9 wins by knockout, 7 in the first round, and he's riding a 9-fight winning streak. So I'm going to take him to win. I'm probably going to take him to win by knockout. I think both of these guys have a lot of power. They usually come forward and fight entertaining fights. So I'm going to take Tulio by second round knockout for this one. Moving on, we have a flyweight bout between, I apologize for butchering this name, but Sumu Daraji versus Mitch Raposo. So Sumu Daraji is a Chinese fighter with a record of 16-7, 13 wins by knockout, and 11 in the first round. And Mitch Raposo is 9-2 with 4 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, and 4 in the first round. So for this one, I'm going to side with the Chinese fighter. He has a little bit more experience, and he seems to have a little bit more power by the increased knockouts there. He's also coming off of a 3-fight losing streak, so I feel like this is one that he has to win if he wants to stay in the UFC. So keep an eye on this fight. I think it's a must-win for Sumu Daraji, and I apologize for butchering that name. But moving on, we have a middleweight bout between Syracuse Dumas and Michael Olesejuk. And again, I apologize for butchering names. Polish names are particularly hard for me. Dumas is 10-2 with 4 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, 4 in the first round. Olesejuk is 19-9 with 14 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 11 in the first round. So I would definitely highlight this fight. I think it could be a fight of the night contender. Both of these guys come forward and they always fight entertaining fights, especially the Polish guy, Michael. I've seen him in so many wars at this point. This is going to be a fun fight for sure. I'm going to take him to win by decision. He has a little bit more grit, a little bit more power, and yeah, I'm taking Polish power to win in this one. So kicking off our regular prelims, we have another fight that I would definitely highlight as a potential fight of the night. We have Darren Elkins versus Julian Erosa. Now, Darren Elkins is 29-11 with 9 wins by knockout and 5 by submission. Julian Juicy J. Erosa is 30-12 with 11 wins by knockout, 14 by submission, and 8 coming in the first round. So 29-11 versus 30-12. Both of these guys are veterans. They have so much experience in the sport. Both of them come forward and fight entertaining fights always. You might not be the most familiar with either of these guys because they've never really been main card quality, but they've always been special fighters on the prelims. They always put on entertaining fights. And you know that if you're a fan of Darren Elkins, the damage, he finds ways to win. He finds ways to win in fights that you think that he's absolutely going to lose. He's one of those underdog stories that it's always exciting to cheer for that guy. I'm a big fan of him, so I'm going to pick him to win by decision. But if I'm using my MMA brain here, Juicy J probably has a better chance. So if you're betting on this fight, I would probably bet on Juicy J, but there's just some quality about Darren Elkins. He finds ways to win. Even after being beaten down solid for round after round after round, he'll find ways to win it in the last round, in the last second of the round. So I'm going to go with Darren Elkins in this one by decision. Next up, we have a lightweight bout between Jim Miller and Chase Hooper. So after that slugfest between Elkins and Juicy J, this is probably going to be a jiu-jitsu battle. We'll see how it plays out, but Jim Miller obviously has, I think he's second in the sport for most submissions, and Chase Hooper, a young 25-year-old, is looking like a jiu-jitsu prospect in the sport. I'm excited to see how this one plays out. Jim Miller is 38-18, 7 wins by knockout, 21 by submission, and 16 in the first round. And if you do the math there, that means that a lot of those first round stoppages were submissions, which is crazy. And then Chase Hooper, on the other hand, is 15-3 with 4 wins by knockout, 8 by submission, and 6 coming in the first round. So a pretty big age gap here. We got a 41-year-old fighting a 25-year-old. That's a 16-year age gap, but I don't know how this one's going to go, really. Like, my smart side of my brain is saying, like, Chase Hooper, he's a little bit, younger. A little bit's an understatement. He's a lot fresher, and he might have the skills to knock out Jim Miller on the feet. If it goes to the ground, though, there's just something about that old man strength and that experience that Jim Miller has. I don't see him getting submitted by Chase Hooper. It would be legendary. It'd be a great win on Chase Hooper's record if he could submit Jim Miller. But I feel like if this goes to the ground, Jim Miller, he's just got that veteran quality to him. He's going to find a submission on Chase Hooper. So I'm going to take this as an upset. I feel like most people are going to be picking Chase Hooper because a 16-year age gap is quite a lot. But I'm going to take Jim Miller by submission. I'm going to go second or third round. We'll go third round because I feel like this is going to be a pretty even fight up until the finish. So yeah, that's what I got for the lightweight bout. Moving on, we have a women's strawweight bout between the number 1 ranked Yan Xiaonan and the number 3 ranked Vivian Jadaroba. Again, I apologize for butchering names, but this is actually going to be a very exciting fight. This is one of those women's fights that I actually get excited for. I know some people are like, oh, women's fight, bathroom break, we can just skip it. This one I wouldn't skip. This is going to be a fun one. Yan Xiaonan is one of the most entertaining fighters on the entire roster, man or woman. She always comes forward. She's always throwing strikes. She's a high-volume fighter. I'm going to take her to win in this one, although Viran is also a fantastic fighter. I think she has the ability to win this fight. It's going to be very close. I'm thinking it's kind of a 50-50 fight. Yan Xiaonan is 19-4 with 8 wins by knockout and 8 first-round finishes, whereas Viran is 21-3, 1 win by knockout, but 14 by submission, 8 first-round finishes as well. So both ladies have 8 first-round finishes, but you can see that Yan is more of a striker, whereas Viran is more of a submission artist. So if this goes to the ground, you should probably be looking at the Brazilian to win. But if it stays on the feet, I think Yan is just going to piece her up for 3 rounds, and I have her winning. Honestly, I'm going to take her by knockout in this one. I think she can get this done. I'm going to take her by 3rd round knockout, and I hope it happens for her because that fight with Wei Li, even though Wei Li's pretty dominant right now, it doesn't look like anybody's going to challenge her at strawweight. I would like to see it ran back. I think that was probably one of the closest fights Wei Li's had for defending her belt. And if she puts on an impressive performance, maybe we can see that fight ran back. I would love to see it done in China. So yeah, moving on, we have our prelim headliner, which is the number 15th ranked Dan Ige fighting Sean Woodson at featherweight. Dan Ige is 18-9 with 6 wins by knockout, 5 wins by submission, and 7 in the first round, whereas Sean Woodson is 13-1-1 with 4 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, and 4 in the first round. So this fight is great. I think the matchmakers did a great job for this one. You have Dan Ige, who's small but very aggressive. He always comes forward. He has the power in his hands to come forward against absolutely anybody in this division. I mean, look what he did with Diego Lopes, right? That ended up being a pretty close fight. Sean Woodson, on the other hand, huge length, huge reach. He's probably going to have the reach advantage on just about everybody in this division, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 guys. There are a couple like really tall featherweights, but Sean Woodson, I think he's going to have the boxing ability to win this by decision, but I'm going to be cheering for Ige. I want him to land that big shot. I just think that Sean Woodson has the boxing ability. He's starting to put things together now in his last couple fights that I think he's going to overwhelm Ige, and I think he's going to squeeze this out by decision. I also think it's better for the division if Sean Woodson wins. I love Dan Ige. I just don't know what more he can do or what fights he can get, especially after losing to Lopes. It's like if Lopes wins the belt, can you really get that fight back? Maybe you can argue it because the fight was close. I thought Ige was very close to winning his fight against Lopes, but yeah, we'll see how this one plays out. It's got big implications for the featherweight division, so I'm excited to watch that one. Now we will move on to the main card. Kicking off the main card, we have a light heavyweight bout between the number 8th ranked Nikita Krylov and the number 11 ranked Dominic Reyes. This fight is actually huge for the division, and I'm very excited to see how it plays out. I think it's a little bit better for the division if Krylov wins. However, if Reyes wins and he gets a couple wins going, gets another shot at the belt, that would be cool. And I am a fan of Reyes, even though I'm a huge Jon Jones fan. I respect the performance that he put on against Jon. I thought it was a very close fight. Obviously, it was a very close fight. I had Jon Jones winning the third round, but that's going to be up for debate till the end of time. But breaking these two fighters down, Nikita Krylov is 30-9 with 12 wins by knockout, 16 by submission, and 23 wins coming in the first round. So a very impressive record there. I don't think people take enough time to look at how impressive of a resume Nikita Krylov has built up. He's very, very well balanced. You see there by his over 10 wins by knockout, over 10 wins by submission, and over 20 wins in the first round. That is spectacular. He's also coming off of I believe, a 3-fight winning streak. He's been a little bit shoddy with some injuries. I think he had 2 fights in 2022, 1 in 2023. I don't think he fought last year, so hopefully he can get going now and start a big run. Dominic Reyes, on the other hand, is 14-4 with 9 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission, and 10 in the first round. So when Dominic Reyes is on, he is one of the most dangerous fighters in this division. However, I feel like the experience of Krylov and the momentum that he has, I know I just said there that he was a little bit plagued with injuries and stuff, but I think the momentum that he has on this 3-fight win streak, if he comes in there and he puts on a spectacular performance against Dominic Reyes, I think it's one of the best things that can happen for this division because Krylov is a very exciting fighter, and putting him up against somebody like Ankalaev, maybe Pereira down the road. I think Pereira is either going to rematch Ankalaev and win and maybe keep defending, or if he loses against Ankalaev again, I don't think we're going to see a contender Pereira. Maybe, I could be wrong, maybe he goes up to heavyweight or something, but I don't see Pereira as a guy hanging around in the UFC at 38 years old just kind of being a contender. So we're going to need some fresh meat at that top of the division here, and I think Krylov could be a very exciting fighter. So keep an eye on that fight. Moving on, we have a featherweight bout between the 5th-ranked Yair Rodriguez and the long-awaited debut of Patricio Pitbull. I've been a huge fan of this guy for years, so if you guys only follow the UFC, you might not be familiar with this guy. But going back, 10 years now, I thought that this guy was one of the best, if not the best, 145er on the planet. I remember when Volk first became champion, I was thinking the entire time throughout his run, man, I know the UFC is the best organization in the world and they have the best fighters, but there are a couple guys in Bellator that I think, those guys could come over and cause a ruckus in the UFC. One of them was MVP, came over a little bit late, unfortunately, but still putting on a show. Ben Askren was another one. That one didn't turn out too great. Michael Chandler was another one of them, turning out pretty good, but not really getting the wins that he expected. But the one at the top of the list, the one that I always thought was a champion who could come over and maybe beat the UFC's champion, was always Patricio. Him and his brother have been dominant for years, but Patricio Pitbull, I think he's the older brother, he's been more dominant, and he's had quite the reign over at Bellator. His losses have been either avenged or they were very close fights, and he's one of those fighters that you could just see that he has everything. He's got the ground game, he's got the wrestling, he's got the jiu-jitsu, he's got great striking, he's got power in his hands. He has everything that you need to be a dominant champion, and I wish he came over when he was like 30 years old, maybe in his early or mid-20s, but unfortunately he stuck with Bellator for most of his career. He's finally coming over now. I believe he's 35 or 36 years old, so he still has a chance to make a really decent run at the title and maybe defend once or twice, but this isn't going to be a guy who comes in and is like a potential GOAT who might defend like 10 times or anything like that. He's a little bit towards the end of his career. That's why this is going to be a very entertaining fight to see how he handles a very tricky, difficult fighter like Yair Rodriguez, lengthy and always throwing unorthodox combos and techniques, and it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. So Yair is 16-5, 6 wins by knockout, 4 by submission, and 5 in the first round. Whereas Patricio Pitbull is 36-7 with 12 wins by knockout, 12 wins by submission, and 12 wins by decision. So a very balanced fighter there. Like I said, Patricio has all of the tools to win. Some of you may not know, you should go back and watch this fight if you've never seen it before, but Patricio has knocked out Michael Chandler before, and it was quite the performance. Michael Chandler's a 155er, and Patricio usually floats around 145, so quite the performance. I would go check that out if you want to look at a fight to highlight this man's ability. But if he gets this win here, and if he gets it done in devastating fashion, he could be challenging for the belt very quickly. And with Ilya out of the division now, it's a little bit opened up, so we can see exciting fights like that. But whether or not Volk wins or Lopes wins, I really want to see Patricio fight for the belt. If he can win this fight, like I said, in somewhat devastating fashion. If it's a long, drawn-out decision where Yair makes it close, maybe we can see one more fight before that happens. But with the clock ticking and so much experience, I feel like we got to kind of rush Patricio to the title and see what he can do. But moving on, we have another featherweight bout between the Nazi-loving, number 13 ranked Bryce Mitchell versus Jean Silva, which I always pronounce with a French accent because it sounds like a French name for some reason. Silva's not really a French name, but it rolls off the tongue in a nice way if you pronounce it in French. Jean Silva, but definitely not a French fighter, definitely a Brazilian. And yeah, the fighting nerds, they're taking over, man. We almost had Prates on this card. This card was supposed to also have Prates, and I was very excited for that because I'm working on a fighting nerds video for you guys right now, and I was gonna wait till this card happened so that they had like the 20-0 record in the UFC. But that fight fell through. Luckily, it got rebooked with a different fighter, Ian Gary, no less. So that's gonna be headlining a fight night soon. I might do a prediction video and a breakdown for that because I'm really, really excited to watch Ian Gary and Prates. But we still have Jean Silva to watch, one of the more entertaining fighting nerds fighters. I mean, they're all entertaining. They're all knockout artists. So Jean Silva is 15-2 with 12 wins by knockout, 2 by submission, and 9 coming in the first round, whereas Bryce Mitchell is 17-3, 9 wins by submission, 8 wins in the first round. So maybe a year or two ago, I was actually somewhat of a fan of Bryce Mitchell. I thought the whole camo shorts thing was really cool. I thought the fact that he lives on a farm and, wrestles pigs and has chickens and stuff, I thought that was really cool too. But with the most recent Nazi statements and saying Hitler was a good guy and I know history, there's hidden history that they don't teach you in school. Yeah, watching Europa The Last Battle does not mean that you know history now. Bryce Mitchell has really disgusted me very recently with his pro-Hitler and Nazi comments, and I want him to get decapitated. I want Jean Silva to put a hole in his head like MVP did to Cyborg, and absolutely, I just want him to ruin Bryce Mitchell's life and take him out of the sport and cripple him for the rest of his career. I don't want to see Bryce Mitchell fight again. I thought those comments were absolutely disgusting and incredibly childish and misinformed, and I really want to see Jean Silva put a beating on Bryce Mitchell. I would love to see him go out there and just throw a knee right through his head in the first round. That would be awesome. But there's another part of me that wants Jean Silva to make this a 3-round beatdown where he just breaks Bryce Mitchell's face in the most devastating way. Yeah, I can't stress it enough. Anybody who's pro-Hitler, pro-Nazi, I have too much connection to that war and stuff. It's disgusting. It's really disgusting. So I was 100% on board with Dana White's comments about Bryce Mitchell being the dumbest human being alive. And, I mean, the flat earth comments and everything like that kind of just proves it, right? This guy's not very bright. And, yeah, just in the past year, he's really soured me, and I don't really like him. So I think that's come across pretty clearly. Jean Silva, by first round knockout in this one, clean and cut. I don't think there's any way Bryce Mitchell actually can win this fight. I don't think, even if it goes to the ground, I don't think he has the ability to win this. But we'll see. We'll see. He put on an impressive performance against Kron Gracie, who I'm a big fan of, and I have to give the flowers to Bryce there. That was an impressive performance. But against Jean Silva, man, I think he's completely outgunned, and I think Jean Silva flies through his face and blasts him with a flying knee. And I think we're going to see Bryce Mitchell die. At least I hope so. Not literally. I don't want to wish death on anybody. But yeah, Yeah, screw Bryce Mitchell. Moving on. We have a lightweight bout between the number 7th ranked Michael Chandler and the number 12 ranked Paddy Pimblett. This will be an exciting fight. So Michael Chandler, he is 23-9, 11 wins by knockout, 7 by submission, 13 in the first round, whereas Paddy Pimblett is 22-3. On an 8-fight win streak, he has 6 wins by knockout and 10 by submission. So both guys are prolific finishers. Both guys have complete ability to finish this fight. I don't know which way it's going to go. Part of me thinks that Paddy's a little bit unexperienced compared to Michael Chandler, and Michael Chandler might just have that veteran quality to take over in the later rounds, in round 2 and 3, and really put a beat on Paddy. But at the same time, if this goes to the ground, it could get complicated. Michael Chandler is a fantastic wrestler, but sometimes when it goes to the ground, he can make bad decisions here or there. So we'll see. We'll see if Paddy can jump on a choke and get this done by submission. But if it's a stand-up war, I'm going to favor Michael Chandler to get this done by decision. Michael Chandler does have the ability to knock him out, but with age creeping up, we'll see if that happens. And Paddy's got a pretty thick skull, so we'll see if Chandler can actually knock him out. I'm going to take Chandler by decision. That's kind of the safe pick, but if you wanted to, I mean, he's also the underdog, so I guess it's not safe, but yeah, I guess Paddy Pimblett would be the safer pick. But I'm going to take Michael Chandler just because I think he has that veteran quality, and he's got more experience. So it's a tough one, though. I think it's a 50-50 fight. I definitely would not be betting on this one because I don't know which way it's going to go, but it's going to be an entertaining one, that's for sure. Whoever wins, we're going to get an exciting post-fight call-out, I'm sure. So then we finally move on to the main event, the featherweight title bout between the number 1 ranked Alexander Volkanovski and the 3rd ranked Diego Lopes. And currently, Volkanovski is closing in as a slight favorite. That could change coming up to the fight because I know a lot of people are saying my brain's saying Lopes, but my heart's saying Volk. And sometimes people bet with their heart, sometimes people bet with their brain, but I don't know how to call this one. Volkanovski is 26-4, 13 wins by knockout, 3 by submission, 7 in the first round. And Lopes is 26-6 with 10 wins by knockout, 12 by submission, 15 in the first round. So Lopes is an up-and-coming prospect. He's looked promising for a while now. He's had a couple speed bumps, I guess, along the way. The Iloev fight was very close. I thought Iloev won. I think Mosfar is going to be a huge problem for everybody in this division. I really want to see him fight for a title, but I just feel like the UFC, with all of his decisions, doesn't really want to push him because he's not exciting. But if you really love and understand martial arts, you know that Mosfar is an incredibly exciting fighter. I mean, look at the Aljo fight. Like, they put that fight on the prelims thinking it's going to be a boring grappling match, and ended up being the most exciting grappling match I think we've seen in years. So I want to see that guy fight for the title very soon. I know I said I want Pitbull to also fight for the title soon, but we'll see what happens next. Right now we got this fight to worry about, the Lopes and Volkanovski fight. And with Lopes coming up, you know, basically besides the Mosfar and the Dan Ige speed bump, for the most part he's had pretty clear sailing, and he bangs, man. He's violent. He comes forward and he throws leather. And, I mean, he stands at a similar height to Max Holloway, so he's probably going to be able to land punches on Volk, seeing that Holloway could. Lopes has a little bit more power, so that's what's kind of scary, especially with Volk coming off those 2 KO losses. I will say with those 2 KOs, he lost to Islam Makhachev, a bigger fighter who is the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet right now. And that head kick, I mean, that would have knocked out anybody. And Ilya, who is looking like a potential pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet. He's looking like a potential GOAT. And that guy looks like, I mean, he's just such a monster, and he has so much power in his hands. I think that those 2 losses, even though they're deadly KO losses that definitely probably took some years off of Volkanovski's career, I still think that you can't really count those 2... You can't count them too harshly against Volk's record because of the quality of the opponent that he lost to. I love Diego Lopes. I think he's a phenomenal fighter. He's so talented. But I don't think he's anywhere close to the level of Ilia Topuria or Islam Makhachev. I feel like if you put Lopes against Islam or Ilya, he would be like done in the first round. It wouldn't even get to the second round. But that being said, coming off of 2 KO losses, that can not only affect your chin, it can also kind of affect your mentality. And we got to see how Volk shows up for this one. I'm going to be watching the press conferences and all of that to kind of get psychological cues. But Volkanovski, if he comes in here timid at all, it could be a very quick night for him, because Lopes, he starts at 10. He doesn't dial things up slowly. He starts at 10 out of 10, and he puts the pedal right to the metal from the start. And if he lands big punches on Volk in the first round like he did against Ortega, we could see Volk go down quick. However, if this fight goes the distance, I think the leg kicks from Volkanovski, I think the distance control. I mean, look at the way he managed distance against Max Holloway, a guy who is a volume fighter, who puts it on everybody. And he was still able to keep Holloway at a pretty low, significant strike rate compared to Holloway's other fights, right? So Volk has incredible distance management, and he's got an insane fight IQ that I don't think is going away anytime soon. I think you hold on to that for the rest of your life. That fight IQ doesn't really disappear. If anything, it gets better with age. So I think he's going to be able to win rounds 3, 4, and 5 just by keeping the distance, having those leg kicks mixed in, chopping Diego's legs down, probably shooting in for some takedowns. I don't know if he gets any takedowns against Lopes, because that guillotine choke is pretty deadly. I would try to stay away from Diego's jiu-jitsu, but maybe he can, pressure him up against the cage, mix in a takedown, get a little ground and pound, stand things back up. If Volk mixes the fight up like that and he fights a mixed martial arts fight, he gets out of the first round fine, I think we can see Volkanovski winning by decision and reclaiming his belt, and that would be awesome. I've said it before, I wasn't really a big fan of Volkanovski when he first won the belt, because I was always a big Max Holloway fan. But as the years went on, I started to warm up to him. And with those Islam fights, I have to give that guy a ton of respect. So it would be very cool to see Volkanovski re-win the belt. But at the same time, man, that guy, that Lopes kid with that dead animal hanging on his head, that haircut is atrocious, man. But that kid is a brawler, and those 10 wins by knockout, 12 wins by submission, 15 first round finishes, that's a very, very impressive record. And I could definitely see him getting this done by KO in the first round. Again, I'm not the biggest Volkanovski fan in the world, so I'm not going to cry if that happens, but it'll definitely be sad to see the Volkanovski era officially come to a close if Lopes gets the KO on Saturday night. But we'll see how that plays out. I think I'm going to take my official prediction. I think I'm going to go Volkanovski by decision. So similar to the last fight where I called Michael Chandler by decision, I'm just going to take that veteran quality, man. I feel like the old dogs are going to get it done. I think it's why I picked Jim Miller to win. I just have a feeling. I don't know. We'll see. I'm never going to be like 100% accurate or 100% right on my predictions. These are just for fun at the end of the day, but usually I'm better than 50%. We'll see. We'll see how things play out. We'll check up in the breakdown video, but definitely let me know down below in the comments. How do you guys have this fight playing out? What do you think the X's and O's are? Do you have Lopes winning by KO? Do you have Volkanovski squeezing out a win? How do you guys see the co-main event going? Are you guys excited to see Patricio Pitbull finally in the UFC? I know I am. I've been waiting like 10 years for this. And yeah, hopefully Nazi lover Bryce Mitchell gets decapitated, and hopefully it's a good night of fights. That's all I'm hoping for. So if you guys like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends to help boost this channel and the algorithm. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Enjoy the fights. Peace.